Hello and welcome to the Other 14 FC podcast. I'm Alex, Crystal Palace fan.
And I'm Tom, a West Ham fan.
And this is your podcast for everything not top six. Tired of your team being last on match of the day and not getting the flowers they deserve. But that's about to change because we're here to shine light on those other 14 teams. Right, Tom, how's your weekend?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. As you know, I've moved flat this weekend, so I had a few days without internet. And on Sunday we went down to the charity shop and picked up a few DVDs, top quality DVDs. We found one that is not even on IMDb, so that was interesting, where Martin Scorsese appeared for a minute, and then went to a pub to watch the football, as I didn't have internet at home, and had my welcome to North London moment, where as soon as we got into this pub, this guy got pushed and kicked out for biting the barmaid's finger.
What?
Yeah, apparently he's been barred from this place for ages, and he just keeps coming back, and they just keep pushing him out. And yeah, it was a whole scene, and me and my partner Lena were just like, "What have we done?"
I was going to say, you expect the worst things from my local in Fulham Heath, where you expect worse things there, but buying a barmaid's finger is fucking a brand new one altogether.
Yeah, didn't even get that at the railway, but yeah. So that was my intro to North London. How about you? How was your weekend, mate?
Yeah, it was too much. I had Friday, had a wedding, then Sunday up to Liverpool for the last game, and then back on the Monday morning for the Palace parade, and then had to take Tuesday off work because I was just on my last legs, and I'm still kind of on now, but I don't think I look as tired as I did in last week's podcast, at least. So
I think you were all right after a week of celebrating. How was Sunday, Monday?
It was too much. I got to the end of Monday night, with my mates in the pub, and I was just said, I'm kind of done with football for a bit now. That basically just over 48 hours of no sleep, boozing, watching football, celebrating, watching 2 trophy lifts. It was too much. And the train situation to and from Liverpool was dreadful as well.
Trains on Sunday of a bank holiday.
Yeah, it was 5 hours to get up there after leaving home at 5:45, and then getting back, leaving Liverpool at 5:30. 5 hours on the train to get back to London for the Palace parade at 12. I was sleeping on the train and had the conductor come and wake me up to check my ticket. I was like, did you really have to do that?
I needed that hour.
It was I'm the only person in this train, just you could have let it go. But, oh, mate. But no, I guess there's some other props we need to show for a certain team over the weekend. I'll pass it over to you to give Sunderland an intro back into the Premier League.
Yeah, just like we gave Burnley and Leeds their props when they got automatically promoted. We've got to say welcome to Sunderland as part of the other 14 for next season. A really interesting match, a really interesting team to come up, much more interesting than Sheffield United, in my own opinion. I think there's a lot different about Sunderland. They've got such a young team, some really great young stars like Mayenda, Joe Bellingham, and even Tom Watson, who is actually not going to be with Sunderland next year.
He's going to Brighton, isn't he?
Yeah, so he signed with Brighton in January and went back on loan for the rest of the season, and then plays the absolute crucial part of getting Sunderland up. And he's a local Sunderland boy, so I'm sure he must be feeling a lot of emotions about having made already having the move sorted to Brighton, but now Sunderland being up there with him. So I'm sure he's very proud to have brought Sunderland up there. And it'll be really interesting to see how they get on. I think obviously they've probably got the longest way to go of staying up out of the 3, and we'll talk about it a lot more in detail once we sort of analyse the squad and the changes they make over the summer. But a much more exciting option to have in the league next year and in the other 14 than Sheffield, from my opinion.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. I was thinking it from an away day point of view the whole time, and I was like, Sheffield United was probably, I've done it many times, and I was like, oh, it's probably the better one to get, because how on earth am I going to explain to my girlfriend that I'm going to Roma on Thursday night and then Sunderland Sunderland on Sunday? I think that may be a stretch too far even for my relationship. So,
yeah, the Roma one is acceptable. The Sunderland one I'm not too sure about, but Fair play to you.
No, yeah, I'm happy for Sunderland. It's nice to see someone new in the Premier League, but I think you're right. They probably do have the longest way to stay up. It's going to be an interesting summer for them, and maybe we'll definitely talk about it more in the summer, won't we?
Yeah, definitely.
Nice, cool. Okay, let's take a little break, then get into the post-match analysis for the last week of fixtures.
Let's do it.
Okay, and we're back with our analysis. I think it might be a especially hard one this week with the games that have summed up and off in the last weekend and not much being played for. But Tom, where do you want to start with all of them?
Yeah, I mean, overall, I just want to say it was a very anticlimactic final day of the season. Like, obviously, we already knew that most of the positioning and like the things to play for were wrapped up, but there was really just the race for Champions League to tie up and those like see where those teams would finish. So I think, firstly, the game that we have to go through with the controversy of it all is Man United 2 versus Aston Villa 0.
Yeah, I'd agree with you on that one. I mean, looking at the result when I finished Liverpool on Sunday, I looked at it and went, my notes were just going to be Villa fucked it. But it's like more Villa got kind of screwed over a bit in this game by a couple of refereeing decisions.
Yeah, I want to say before we talk about the referee decisions that before any of them, Villa were far second best in this game, and
Really?
it was actually crazy how United weren't leading. So I was watching this in the in the pub with my partner Lena, and we had Forest Chelsea on one screen and Villa Man United on the other. And every time we looked over at the Man United Villa game, every couple of minutes, Man United were skying chances, and it was like scrappy in Villa's box. They were just surviving with a hair. Like they just kept getting out of these situations, and it was actually crazy that Man United weren't winning earlier than they did.
See, I didn't get that from the highlights at all. I got it was like United had a couple of chances, nothing real, but Villa were the better side throughout, and then the red card happens. But yeah, that shocked me
Nah,
a little bit.
even John McGinn said after the game that they were second best. Like, obviously, we can come on to the big decisions that were made during the game, but Villa really did not turn up for this one, and it was a really, really shock given the quality of the opposition, the sort of the timing of playing the opposition, given they'd just had the Europa League final, etc. Villa had something to play for. They'd been in good form. Like it was really surprising and disappointing to see Villa not turn up in this way. But yeah, so they throughout the game they were pretty much second best, and then the big decisions like so do you want to go through them chronologically or
Yeah, let's
should
do
we?
them chronologically because I think it works out quite well. The first one's the red card, isn't it? Which I don't think there's much to talk about there. It's a blatant red, like.
Yeah, I mean the only controversy that I could drum up around it would be Hoyland's not going anywhere near goal. Like the touch he takes is so far like towards like the corner flag essentially that
Yeah,
like the angle that he'd have if he got onto that, the angle that he would have to goal would be so tight, and it would probably be closed down by the Villa centre back by the time he gets there. Like it's not a very good touch, but saying that, I'm trying to like I'm almost playing devil's advocate. Like Martinez just goes and bashes him.
yeah. My thing with it is like I don't think Martinez needs to be there. I think he could have stayed in his box and just waited for him to come. And I guess you do want to get close to the ball to close it down, but he was never going to get to that ball. Like, yeah, I think he's
Yeah,
well away from.
I think he's had a bit of red mist there, and he's gone seen the ball and just gone chased after it, and then lost the foot race essentially because once Hoyland gets the touch, it's almost like Martinez can't really do anything. He's going to collide with him in some way. He probably collides with him in a bit more forceful way than he could have. Like he could have probably looked like he was trying to get out of the way a bit more, but he actually just like fully body checks him.
Yeah, he's looking at him when he runs into him. And it's another thing, like in slow mo, you're just there like some keepers probably get out of the way in that area, and if the defender is covering it, like you say, and Hoyland's going that far out of goal, but he went full main character mode there, I think, and was just like, yeah, this is me, I'm going to do it, bam, thinking we probably even knew he wouldn't get away with it, and it's a sad way
Yeah.
to go out for a red card in what may be his last performance in the Prem, but also a very Emi Martinez way to leave the Premier League as well.
It would be, but Unai Emery said after the game that he wouldn't be too writing that check too soon. Like he thinks that there's more to say in Villa, Martinez's time at Villa. So I think it's still more open than it necessarily felt like a week ago on that front.
I think you'd hope
But
so as a Villa fan because Robert Olsen is not a very good keeper.
well, he's off as well. His contract's up, I believe, so they'll be in the market for a backup if they're not in the market for a first choice as well. But yeah, it's probably it's a red card, like trying to drum up some controversy. But the next big decision is very controversial in my opinion.
Yeah,
Like,
it's one of
what do you
those
think about
where
it?
well, it's exactly what happened for Palace at the beginning of the season, where the ref was blown before the ball gets into the net, and you're meant to be waiting for VAR. It's just, it's just poor refereeing at the end of the day. Like, I maybe something about it being an Old Trafford still, and they usually get the decisions that they want, but I'm trying to
I th-
grasp at
I
straws
think
here.
it's just inexperienced referee
Yeah,
in a big stage, and I think he's just made a mistake. Like it's a human error. It's unfortunate that it has come at such a big crucial point, and like Villa, as I said, like Villa were second best, but they had done well to keep it. It was still 0-0 at that point, and then if they had got that goal, I would have backed Villa 100 times out of 100 to have seen it out.
yeah, yeah, I'd agree with you on that. What did you see the Villa letter they put to the PGMOL where it's basically like we can understand that decisions can be made by mistake, but it shouldn't have been such an inexperienced ref for the game.
Yeah,
Then I was just like, oh, was it Samuel Barrett? And I was like, it wasn't. So he got away from our hate for 1 week, I guess.
yeah, we don't have to rant on Barrett again. But yeah, like it's such a weird decision to blow the whistle so soon because it's clearly like going to be a shot on goal. I think you just have to. If it was minimum, like such a small amount of time as well between the Rogers kicking the ball and then scoring to have blown the whistle in that such short amount of time. It was like 2 seconds maybe. Like it really wasn't long enough for him to be like, oh, that's definitely a foul. Like also as a ref, like speak to your linesman, like
Yeah,
like just let let it happen. And like I know some people were saying, oh, if you let the play like roll out, then you'll end up with another situation that happened to Taiwo Awoniyi last time out, where they let the play go on and then he got a serious injury. But I think you can also use judgment and say like Bayandi is not injured, like he's up on his feet, like looking for where the ball is. So I think as a referee, you need to let that situation play out and then call it back if you think it was a foul. Speak to your linesman and see if he like what his judgment was on it as well. And especially in the era with VAR, you have that backup so that if that you make that call after the ball's in the net, then you can come back to it and like resurrect the situation essentially. But yeah, tough one, very very tough one for Villa to take, especially given sort of the other results that would like a positive result would have got them Champions League, massive financial implications of that, hugely changes their budget for the summer and what they can do with their squad, etc. But at the end of the day, I don't think Villa deserve to win this game.
no, that's fair enough. What do you think about the penalty? I was pretty certain it was a penalty when I saw it for United. Was it United's second goal? It looked pretty blatant.
Yeah, I think on replay it's clear as day. Like I don't think it's cynical at all. I think it's just a clash of like I think he kind of slips and just catches Ahmad, and yeah, I think it's a clear penalty. So yeah, that was, and then yeah, the heavens started pouring at the end of that game, and dampener for Villa's end of season.
Yeah, big one. I mean, like you said already, the consequences of that is financially for him's pretty huge, and like the player they'll be able to bring in now as well won't be as high as they're hoping. And you got to feel a bit for the Villa fans because they had a good journey in Europe last year in the Champions League and showed a good showing of themselves. You hope they
Yeah,
do the same in Europa, but the only problem is they'll have to face Palace in it at some point if they do go.
well, we all know Oli Glasner's going to win the Europa League like he did a couple of years ago. But I would just say, lastly, like Unai Emery said after the game, we didn't lose Champions League position today. We lost it in the first half of the season where they were drawing far too many matches, and they went on an absolute tear in the second half of the season. But he's absolutely right. Like they put themselves quite far behind the chasing pack in the first half of the season. So whilst they had a chance to get Champions League football on the last day, they lost it earlier in the season with some of the results. So yeah, I just think it's important to mention that as well. Like obviously we only talk about the matches on the weekend, but it's a 38 game season. It's not just what happens at the last. It's important what happens all throughout.
Yeah, exactly that. And I think in the coming summer, we'll basically break down how we feel each team's season was on a complete, well, yeah, on a complete review and give them maybe a bit of a score and everything like that. So, yeah, listeners have that all to look forward to moving forward if they can be bothered listening to us in the summer as well. Yeah, I think that's everything for that game. If we move on to the other big game involving another 14 team in the Champions League, Forest Chelsea. And Forest, yeah, Forest really going out with not going out with a whimper maybe, but yeah, I think the nerves got the better of them in the end, and it showed throughout the last few games of the season. And yeah, Chelsea just showed that little bit more. I don't want to say experience because it doesn't feel like it, but just a bit more know-how to get through that game.
Yeah, obviously Forest lose this 1-0 to Chelsea. Colwill in the 50th minute gets a fine goal. It's not particularly a special goal. This was a game that had very little quality in it throughout. I think I think you're absolutely right. I think the pressure got to Forest a little bit, and it was symptomatic of their recent form as well. Like they weren't playing well coming into this game. They had got a couple of results here and there, but they weren't playing as well as they were earlier in the season. And especially in the final third, like some of the crossing in this one, some of the shots were just really, really poor from Forest.
They were.
And then
There's a couple of Chris Wood ones, which
yeah,
I may be bigging him up a bit too much, but I feel like he was just scoring those chance. Like he had a great chance at the beginning, a ball like over the top, and I feel like he was scoring those no matter what at the beginning of the season. And now it's just like it won't fall right for him, or he won't connect with it like correctly. And that's literally the difference between them getting that Champions League spot and
100%. 100%, yeah. Like the two Wood chances, they're both from about the 6 yard line, like away from the goal. So you're absolutely right. He was banging those in earlier in the season, but I also like remember looking at earlier in the season, and he was overperforming his expected goals, which expected goals, love it or hate it. Sometimes it does have like meaning to it, and that is one thing that like he was, because he was back putting all of those away, he was overperforming. And it's like his sort of end of the season where the goals have been a bit harder to come by. It's balanced it out a little bit more for his XG versus his actual output, and he still had an unreal season, but his misses in this game and his lack of goals in recent weeks have been symptomatic of Forest's recent run. But I would say one thing for Forest is I would be very excited to go into the Conference League. I think that maybe the Champions League, well, definitely I think the Champions League and maybe even the Europa League might have been a step too far too soon. And I think the Conference League, maybe not the Europa League, like maybe they could have made a fair go of it in that competition, but I think their squad is perfectly set up to win the Conference League, and they should really be looking at doing so next season.
yeah, that's a thing. I talked to a Forest fan at work a few weeks ago, and he was saying like obviously he wants Champions League because they don't know if they'll get the chance to come by it ever again. But if it had to be a choice of Europa or Conference, he was more inclined to go towards Conference League because it's one where it's like we could have a deep run in that and actually win the thing. So it's a strange one, isn't it? Because I don't think the prize money like to getting Europa and getting Conference is really that big a difference. I might be talking out my arse on that one, but it's very different compared to the Champions League. So yeah, it's I feel for Forest fans because the way it's ended up, it's taken the gloss off what would have been an emphatic season if they'd like snuck into Conference League. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. The way it looks, because they were being touted as in a title race like 2-3 months ago, and it sort of dropped off since then. But if you'd have offered Forest fans a European tour next year, whatever competition, they would have absolutely taken it at the start of this season. Like, they're not that far removed from just being promoted. What was it? Their third season back in the Premier League,
Yeah, I think
I
in
want to
some of
say.
the pundits' predictions, they were odds on to go down with a couple of pundits, and you just got to look at it now and be like, Espirito Santos has done a crazy job there, and yeah, I hope Forest fans like take a week or so and then look back at the season and be like, shit, that was actually really good, and let's give it a good go again. I just hope they don't get found out with their style of play next year. Very much like, do you remember Leicester taking the league with their like fast pace, like Route One balls over the top and bits like that? Then the next season, everyone was like, okay, we actually need to watch out for this now. I hope Forest
Yeah,
don't get
we're not
found
going to
out.
let you play with 40 yards in behind. Like, we'll sit a bit deeper and make you actually try and unpick us. So, yeah, it'd be interesting to see what Forest do next season. Obviously, might lose a couple of very good performers this summer. Like, see who they keep on to, see who they bring in. So, I know it's hard to take at the moment, Forest fans, but the next season could be even greater.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. I think that's everything we need there. Shall we touch on another 14 side that did actually secure Champions League, even though it was in a 1-0 loss to Everton?
Yeah, so Newcastle stumbled into the Champions League backwards essentially with this 1-0 defeat to Everton. This was a strange one because Newcastle had chances, but they always felt a little bit odd, like a little bit off on the day. And Eddie Howe said after the game that he thought they were anxious today, and it kind of like came across.
Yeah, I felt like that watching the highlights. Like it felt like they were almost playing within themselves compared to what we've seen from Newcastle and well, nearly the whole season, where they've just been absolutely dominant at St James's Park and swept teams apart quite quickly. It felt like they were just like, okay, we need to break down Everton, but we can't break down Everton, and the longer we don't break down Everton, the more wide we're going to get, and the more like desperate we're going to try to get these goals. So you have like the Sharda long like shot. I can't remember how late in the game it was, but it's like it's one of those where it's a hit and hope essentially. I know he's hit and hope a few of those in his time at Newcastle and they've gone in, but you could see them just like the longer Pickford was keeping them out, who had a really strong game, I thought, as well, and probably solidifies himself as England number one moving forward still. It's just like, yeah, it was a bit desperation and a bit of anxiety, is a good way to put it.
Yeah, I don't think they had their arrogance that they've had at points this season. When Newcastle are cooking, they are in your face. They are quality on the ball. They're like they attack with such ferocity. And in this game, they didn't really have any of that. They were picking up like some loose balls, but then they were sort of like hesitating with it. They were trying to almost like carve out perfect opportunities rather than taking more like half chances, and then that led to them just sort of taking low quality chances eventually. And like the share one is like he could have had a brace on another day, like he that one that he absolutely like smacked from outside the box, and then he has one very late on inside the 6 yard box that he just scoops over like a proper defender's shot. And yeah, it wasn't vintage Newcastle today. Like even in defence, where they've been pretty solid most of the season, like they're letting Carlos Alcaraz, who is a short king for Everton, like they're letting him score a free header in the box. Like he
It was
wasn't
mad.
marked by anyone.
It was mad, wasn't it? Because I was like, that's a very easy goal, and I was thinking like, well, how have Newcastle let that go? And then all season they've basically been dominant in the air with their centre backs. It was just a bit
It's
strange.
almost like he's just ghosted past their big centre backs, and that no one's picked up the little man. And I guess from an Everton point of view, like obviously they had their season was kind of done last week. The big Goodison Park goodbye, and this one was just really a free hit kind of thing. Like they the goal comes from quite a nice simple move. Like they don't overcomplicate it. They're not trying to work like force particular patterns of play. It's just a really nice like layoff cross. Alcaraz finds himself free in the box and gets a nice little touch on it via his head to score a goal. Like you got to shout out the job that David Moyes has done since rejoining Everton in January, I think it was.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, you look at their last four games, they've got three wins in a row now and one draw. Maybe maybe call me crazy, but I think Everton might be one to look out for next year. If they settle into that stadium quickly, there's no reason Moyes can't bring back great days to. I was going to say Goodison Park there, but was it the Hill Dickinson?
The Hill Dickinson Stadium, yeah,
Dickinson
they're going
Stadium.
to have a lot to do with the squad. Like we touched on it recently. Like there's a lot of outs, a lot of outgoings with Everton in the squad this summer. So it's going to be interesting to see how they rebuild that squad
Mm.
with the appeal of the new stadium, with Moyes in charge. Like it seems like a destination for players who would want to go to, where it may not have felt like that for the last few seasons, in my opinion.
Yeah, this rogue statement. I'm probably get called out on this, but would you feel safer as an Everton fan having Moyes in charge at this like crossroads than Ancelotti at this crossroads?
Oh, I don't know about that. Ancelotti had them in like first in the league at one point.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
but they had what was deemed as a better financial standpoint then. They had better players at that point. Do you think now it's just a bit like they need a Moyes in there to build these structures to then give them a route to move forward into after that? No.
maybe. I mean, I'd be taking Ancelotti every day of the week, like regardless of my squad. Like, he's a quality manager, and I'd be like, you snap at any chance to get him, regardless of the squad, and hope that he can turn it into magic, which I think he did with that Everton squad. Like, I don't think it was as good as what you're remembering,
Fair.
like before he joined.
Yeah, I'm just getting James Rodriguez in my head, aren't I? And probably not thinking of the
Which
other
is
players.
which is, came because of Ancelotti, right?
Yeah,
If
true.
I'm unless I'm misremembering.
Nah, well, we'll dig into that more in the off season. I'd like to have that conversation with a actual Everton fan as well. So yeah, cool. Anything else you want to touch on that game? Or should we move on to Spurs Brighton?
No, let's crack on.
Nice. So yeah, moving on to Spurs Brighton. I think I may have to let you do most of the talking on this one, Tom, because anything I say will sound probably a bit a bit unbiased and a bit jovial, maybe.
Well, I mean, Spurs got absolutely battered here, 4-1 by Brighton, and I think the player of the game and the player of the moment for Brighton is Jack Hinshelwood. Like, he's come on leaps and bounds. He's scored 3 goals in 2 games. Like, he's pitching up as a impactful forward player at the moment, where
Yeah,
he's played either sort of like left back or right back throughout most of the season.
mate, that cheeky back heel for
Oh,
the
it's
second
so
one.
nice.
That's a proper striker's finish, that isn't it? Like,
It's really nice and super intelligent because like there's players around him. It's like he doesn't really have the time and the touch to turn, and he absolutely catches everyone out by doing that. Like the little back heel is super nice. I mean, there was a couple of clear penalties in this game, so
yeah,
obviously Spurs get the first one from Vifa, clear penalty,
yeah,
no discussion really needed there, and then the second one is for Brighton from a tackle from Basuma. Again, clear penalty, no controversy there.
no, the thing is, like, with all the penalties I watched in the highlights, they all seem to be quite like stonewall, nothing to worry about. Like, player clearly catches the other player in the box, and you're just there, like, yeah, it's nice not to be whining about VAR or anything in these decisions for once. But then,
Yeah, it's going to be the quickest podcast ever because it's just like there's nothing to argue about.
no, the one thing we should talk about, I think, is Gomez's goal at the end, which is an absolute screamer. Like, I guess the Brighton fans have been presented some absolute stunners in the last few weeks, goals wise.
Yeah, I mean they always seem to do they always seem to be pulling out a goal of the season contender, and I know Matoma had one from earlier in the season against Chelsea, and yeah, this was another excellent one from Gomez. Like, obviously, Baliba had one against West Ham a few weeks ago that was really nice as well. Like, yeah, this one was a perfectly lovely curling finish and really just put like the cap on a great end of season game for Brighton, and I would also say generally a really good season overall for Brighton. Like, we'll dig into it more in the off season, but finishing eighth with 61 points, like, okay, it's not going to get you European football because Chelsea
What?
won their match.
No, but they would have got European football if Palace hadn't won the FA Cup, wouldn't they?
Yeah, yeah. So you can take pride in that. Sorry, Brighton fans.
I'm so sorry, I couldn't help myself. I just couldn't.
Yeah, so I mean, I think with a new manager as well, like this season, they like that's a very good place to build off. Like they've got a very talented squad as they always have. I'm sure they'll unearth some more gems in the summer, and that's excellent for them to build off next season. Especially without European football, they won't have any of that distraction or any of that playing too many matches, etc. So they can make a real go of it next year. And yeah, what
Yeah.
there's a really nice day in the sun for them to finish off this season with.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I mean, there was a bit in the middle of the season where I really thought Brighton were going to fall off completely, and the fact that they've been able to bring it back with a young manager and a young squad now as well, it seems like I'm generally quite scared of Brighton next year, and I'm going to get a lot of comebacks for everything I've been saying. But I'll try and enjoy my day in the sun for as long as I can until I get my comeuppance, I think. But no, cool. Do you want to move on to our next game then? A bit of a dead rubber. Bournemouth 2, Leicester 0.
Yeah, I think we're moving on to a whole host of dead rubbers, to be honest, mate. Yeah, but 2-0, two goals from Antoine Semenyo, and he's one of it. He's a player that keeps coming up on this podcast. Like, he's almost like, is he the unheralded player of Bournemouth season, or does he get enough credit that he deserves?
I was going to say we're finishing the season with basically how we started this podcast. I think with talking about Amon Semenyo. I don't know. I'd be interested to talk to a Bournemouth fan about who their player of the season is, because one has sort of been popping up for me constantly. Like, I don't think he started all the games, but Evan Nilsson just looks like he's impacted every game I've seen him play. And
Yeah,
like,
he's come on leaps and bounds. I think he took a little bit to settle at first, but once he sort of started scoring, like I think he's had an excellent season. Justin Cliver had a really good start of the season, maybe tailed off a little bit towards the end. Like Milos Kerkez and Dean Huijsen in defence have been absolutely solid. Like obviously Huijsen is off to Real Madrid. Like there's it's hard picking just one player for Bournemouth. But this was Semenyo's day. But there was another player that I wanted to talk about as well, was Marcus Tavernier. He had a couple of really nice shots in this game that were just wide or just got saved, and he was also influential in the first Semenyo goal as well. So he's another player that I definitely don't think gets a lot of credit around the league, but he does a lot of hard work for the Bournemouth team, and he's got good quality as well. So yeah, it was one-way traffic in this one for Bournemouth. I really struggled to find some notes from a Leicester point of view, really.
no, I think it's not even really touching on Leicester in a nice way, but no clean sheets the whole away season, which is it's quite an accomplishment in all honesty. Like, but yeah, I guess you're going to be seeing the end of Van Nistelrooy. I don't think he was I wouldn't say he was prickly in his post-match comments, but he's just like just kind of want to talk to the owners to see what's happening. I mean,
Yeah,
as
it
it's
very much sounded like he was on his way out, and he's just trying to find something to say, like something neutral to say, so that he'll get his compensation for leaving. It's the end of the Van Nistelrooy era. It went out with a limper, really. Like that, like they they had all their fun last week. Leicester really didn't they? Like they were already down. They got they had the whole Vardy day last week, and this one was probably just a day out on the south coast for Leicester fans. Really, I don't think any of them probably expected too much, given Bournemouth had a good season at home on the last day, and Leicester just had their fun last week. So they just kind of they went out, and it'd be interesting to see what they do to see if they can turn things around next year and come back up. But I have my worries for them.
Yeah, I think we've said all season, once the relegation was confirmed, they're probably the ones I worry most about coming back. Because, yeah, obviously with they're probably going to end up with deductions or financial penalty now as well. But I guess good luck to Leicester fans is all I can say. I hope it's not as dark as we seem to think it's going to be. And I guess congratulations to Bournemouth for having their best season in the Premier League. And they've used that Slanky money they got last summer really well, and if they use that Hoyson money, if that's, I'm probably mispronounced his name there, but if they use that money as well, who who knows where they could be pushing next year. But I think that's all the time we need to spend on that dead rubber, and it may be the same for all these games moving forward. But let's go into Wolves Brentford 1-1. A bit more of an entertaining game than the one we just spoke about. I think there was a bit more of an actual battle within the game.
Yeah, this one would be a classic sort of mid-season game. It just had a little bit of an end of season feel where kind of the result didn't really matter for either team, with obviously Brentford dropping points and there not being an eighth European spot for that position. But it was a good enough game. Like, I think first half was all Brentford. Like, they had some good shot opportunities. They were pouncing on mistakes from Wolves in defence as well. Like, the goal for Mbuemo comes from some sloppy play in Wolves' defence, and another opportunity came for Visser as well. A shout out Brian Mbuemo, 20th goal of the Premier League season. I know a few of those have been penalties because the Visser amount is all without penalties, so it's quite impressive.
It's
But
really
20 goals in a season is really impressive for Mbuemo.
I was going to say, I was watching in Bournemouth, I was like, is he Peak Barclays in this modern era, do you think? There's something about it, I'm just there like, he's giving me those Peak Barclays vibes, and I feel like in the future, maybe in a year or two's time, we might be talking about him, and basically, there's something about him, he's just
I
like,
think so. In 10 years' time, we'll be like, wow, and Mbuemo did what at Brentford? 20 goals, like, as a right winger? Like, that's crazy. But he's more than just a right winger. Like, he pops up as a striker. It's a nightmare for defenders to play against because, like, him, Visser, and to a lesser extent, Sharda, like, they just, like, rotate all the time, and, like Visser will drop deep, and Mbuemo will fill in as the striker sort of thing. So trying to, like, keep a hold of who's your man and who to mark and where each of them are at all times is really struggle. But after the sort of half time in this one, and Lewis Potter missing just before to make it which would have made it 2-0, Wolves came on in the second half. Like, they stopped being as sloppy in defence. They got more they started, even though they were still playing out from the back, which they want to do. They were finding the passes rather than rushing them and losing the ball. And even though the goal doesn't come from passing out from the back, it comes from a lovely bit of Route One football. Like,
is it the best Route 1 goal ever?
it's like if an alien came down and was like, "What is Route One football?" You just show them that and be like, "This is exactly what Route One football is." Goalkeeper, long, Strand Larsen knocks it down. A smashed goal from Bonetti. It was a really, like, sometimes it's nice to remember that football is a simple game,
It
and
really
with
was.
all, like, the tactics and the tiki taka and all of the, like, gegenpressing and all of the other stuff that goes on, and we talk about with football. There's something really nice about just a lovely Route One goal, especially with that finish.
Really was, because that finish as well, I was sat there watching it, I was like, oh fuck, that's an absolute screamer. Like, I
The
mean, it was
absolute thunder bastard, in it.
exactly. It was the only one on Match of the Day where I went, whoa, and you just don't expect it from like Route One. And yeah, I think it's probably how Wolves deserve to end their season, with a draw after like bringing themselves back in the season as well, to like plateau out in a good place in the league and set themselves up with a good fucking.
Yeah, well, it's good that they didn't end on a run of like 4 defeats, because they had lost like the last 3 after that amazing run. They kind of like took their breather and lost 3. So it's kind of nice that they didn't. They got a point at home on the last game of the season, so that they can have that good vibe still going through into the summer.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Wolves obviously, I think at the time we're speaking, are pretty much lost Cunha as well. I really hope Brentford don't lose Wissa and Buemo. Like, all the Match of the Day was just talking about how Buemo's going to be leaving and Wissa's probably going to be leaving. And they're like, let's stop talking about that and just hope that a good team sticks with 2 good players at the heart of it. Because Wissa, I think, record Premier League appearances for him now of 137. Like, I think they if I was them, I'd stay there and become club legends with them. I don't see why not. You got Thomas Frank, a good manager there who fits the way you play, and you fit a system perfectly. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think Brentford run on a tight wage structure, and that eventually is going to be hard to overcome. Like, I think they could probably they might be able to spend a bit more and give the higher wages, but they might they might not want to do that. They might struggle. They don't want to maybe break their wage structure, and they could also reinvest that money that they get for those players. Like I think they've proven that they've got really good scouting. They've got players coming through. Like they signed a player from Club Bruges, I think his name is Igor Thiago, last summer to replace Ivan Toney, and he unfortunately got a really bad injury, so he's been out most of the season. But that was who was supposed to come in and replace Ivan Toney. It wasn't supposed to be Visser, or like Embuemo taking on like all of these goals. Like they signed a replacement, so they might think, well, we can get another big lump sum for one of those players and then reinvest that money as well. Like they've got Sharda coming through and that. So like Lewis Potter was signed as a forward. He's played makeshift left back and left wing back for most of the season. But yeah, I think I completely agree. I'm also like hesitant to be like, yeah, let's sell this player to them and this player to them and stuff. But I would have confidence in Brentford's ability to retool. Is the word I would use to, if they do decide on letting one of those go, or they can't re-sign them to another contract.
Yeah, I'm going to be interested in talking to one of our close mates who's a Brentford fan. I'm seeing him this weekend, so going to be interested to see how he feels about them. Maybe
You're going to be
losing.
saying the complete opposite stuff when you see him and be like, yeah, they're both going to go.
Yeah, I'm going to be probably discussing the nail in because he'll probably be doing the same about Everton all that. I
Yeah.
guess that brings us on to Liverpool Palace, 1-1. Yeah, dead rubber game. It's more about the scenes, I think. I don't want to spend too long talking about the scenes because we've talked about enough Palace scenes for one season with everything that's happened. But just the double guard of honour was a real classy move by Liverpool, which I wasn't expecting at all. Like they did not need to do that. The fact they did that kind of blew me away, and I was just there like,
It was a nice, really nice touch to see.
yeah. And I was there with my best mate, who's a Liverpool fan. He was in the away end with me, and he was a bit worried about being undercover. But at the end of the game, I think that a lot of Palace fans have had the idea about selling their ticket to Liverpool fans because there was easily about 50 Liverpool fans in that away end. And by the end, it wasn't even like trying to cover shirts or anything. They were like tops off, like sorry, not top, jackets off, full Liverpool kit in the away end. And I was like, oh, I don't know how I feel about this. I don't really like it, but I can understand it, I guess, because
It's
obviously,
probably like the one game of like your lifetime that will be fine. And I think it's a really unique situation. Like I wonder how many games in all of the football leagues in the world where they have been set up like that, like two teams who have won a trophy this season meeting on the last day in the sun, like just pure celebration. Like from the outside, it just looked like a party all day.
it really was. Like the scenes beforehand in Liverpool were absolutely incredible. I think I already mentioned about the train getting up there was dreadful, but I've never seen so many red smoke flares going off. They were selling them at the convenience stores, they were selling them at petrol stations, they were selling them on the streets, and just everyone was in the mood to have an absolute like party, buzz, and time. And it's exactly what I did as well. Like just the game itself, Saar scores early on. I think we deserved a goal. We probably deserved to have maybe one or two, but I also think Liverpool deserved a couple. Defending for our goal, I didn't really understand what happened, but then watching the replay back, it was just like we were just
It
shit.
was a bit. It was quite rubbish defending for the equaliser. Like they as well. Like I think Palace just were caught out a bit, and the same from Liverpool early on for Sar's goal. Like he's just so wide open, and he breaks a 10 game goal drought, which is nice for him. The one thing I wanted to ask about, and you kind of touched on it earlier. Do you reckon Henderson's got a chance to challenge for England #1 with Pickford? Like new manager for England, he might decide he wants something different in goal, or do you think Pickford has enough in the bank to reclaim to still have that #1 shirt?
I mean, we're going with the England's #1 chance for Dean like every game now. So yes, I think he could, but do I want him to is the bigger question because I do fear like any player that goes plays for England, apart from Mark A, I'm scared of them being in the limelight and something bad happening and them losing form, and then yeah, him becoming a bit of a not disgrace, that's not the right word, but a bit of a laughing stock, and then he comes back with his confidence like in pieces. we probably talked about before. I'm the most pessimistic man on earth when it comes to football. But
Nah, I completely agree. I'm actually low-key quite happy that Jared Bowen isn't in the England squad because he can go off now, have his wedding, have his like honeymoon, get nice and like go for a holiday, and then be refreshed when he comes back. So, and after Dean Ashton's career essentially got ended by England training, I am much more club over country and happy that my players can rest instead of playing
yeah,
meaningless qualifiers or whatever.
yeah, it's exactly that. That's kind of what it is. And yeah, I do think he's playing really well, but just let Pickford have it. I think Pickford should have enough in the bank. He is always going to be an England hero for what he's done through penalties over the years for England. So yeah, I either or really, but I can still see Pickford doing it. Other
Yeah.
things touching that game, the red card, not controversial, I don't think, because it would have been a
No.
second yellow, but like it was still a straight red. The only other thing, Glasner going absolutely mental at Romain Eze, which I thought was a bit harsh and I didn't really understand because the Palace fans were almost cheering him on to be doing a bit of skills and a bit of showboating because everyone wanted the party atmosphere, but obviously he loses the ball that Liverpool then go on to score with, and he's subbed as a sub, and it's just a bit like, oh, that's a bit touchy. Like,
Yeah, Glasner came out after and said he was really unhappy with the players' egos in this match, and I think that's just a clash of personality versus situation kind of thing. Like Glasner is not a flashy guy; like he's an Austrian guy. Like they are quite reserved people. They are quite like hard work ethos, and they're like ego doesn't really come into it for them. Like they had their he probably felt like they had their celebration away from the pitch, and this was and whilst this was just a party mean like dead rubber game, they still probably could have acted a bit more professional. But from a fan's point of view, you want to see that like the players having a bit of fun, especially when the game isn't has no meaning, like it has no real impact. So yeah, I think it's just a bit of a clash, but I don't think it was anything too serious.
nah, they were laughing and joking about it the next day at the parade and like trophy celebration, so I think it'll all be okay. Last thing I just want to touch on with that is obviously just hope everyone in Liverpool is safe after
Yeah.
what happened, and it was absolutely awful the scenes at the parade, and it's just nice to hear that I think it's confirmed now there was no deaths or anything at all. It was just injuries, but for those in serious injuries, I hope they get better as soon as possible.
Yeah, absolutely seconded from me, mate.
Yeah, cool. Okay, I guess we'll move on to your team's game then. Ipswich 1, West Ham 3. I just want to start with this one. That goalkeeper you had in looked pretty handy. You should maybe look to sign him up, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know about losing Fabianski, like he's been so solid for us for the last 7 years, and we went through a fair bit of goalkeeper wilderness before Fabianski. Like we had Rob Green, we had Jussi Escalainen, we had Adrian, and then whilst Fabianski was injured, we had a guy called Roberto who was the worst goalkeeper you'll ever see play
I
in the
wouldn't
Premier
have
League.
Roberto. I
Mate,
can't believe
absolute liability, that guy. So losing Fabianski and just letting him go when he probably could have stayed around for another season, but you know, uh, it is what it is. He's 40 years old now. I'm not sure if he's going to be signing for another Premier League team, or if he maybe goes back to Poland or something. Like I think London is home for him and his family, so wouldn't surprise me to see him maybe drop down to the Championship for a year's start, or to be a backup at another Premier League team. But yeah, he's good, and he's a good still good in the bag, and he's gotten a nice send off from West Ham fans. Everyone at West Ham loves him, and he had an excellent save in this one from Broadhead. Um, Overall in this game, it's nice to win to see out a pretty miserable season for us. Like it's been a struggle. I think the Athletic did a poll about like how like the fan survey, and it was like West Ham were bottom as like the most dissatisfied fans of this season, and I think there's nothing to argue with there. Like we were sold a lot of like hype and like big signings at last summer, and it's been really like the product we've put out on the pitch has been poor for most of the season. Like if we were able to play Ipswich every game, we'd probably have won the league. But unfortunately, we haven't played Ipswich every game, so
Yeah.
we struggled in a lot. So yeah, it's nice to win to end the season, but not not a lot to take really from this game otherwise.
No, I mean, I saw that poll as well because my team's at the top of the group.
Yeah.
But no, like I said it for a while now, especially on this pod. It just feels like Potter was not looking at losing his job if he had a torrid end to the season, but it's just he's probably just about bought enough money in the bank now for the first 5 games of next season, and if you get off to a good run there, then I feel like he could have something good. But if you don't get a good start next season, there's going to be all hell to pay. It feels like.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, we can get into it in the summer. Like, is it, as we've said, it's going to be a big summer for West Ham. But like in this game, Bowen is just Bowen doing Bowen things. Like the assist for the first goal is so nice. Like the reverse pass and the intelligence to like ghost into that area where he latches onto a bad back pass. Like it he's been so integral to everything good about West Ham since he signed, and I love that we've got him nailed down for another 6 years. And
Nice.
then the second one is just a Pete Bowen goal, like cutting him from the right hand side and then just powering it into the goal.
See, I didn't understand that goal. Like watching, I don't know if it's camera angle or something to do with it, but I'm just there like, how's it actually like flown and gone in? It's like, should the keeper be doing better, or is it just
Oh, I think the keeper should have done better. Like,
okay?
I think maybe it goes up and down in the air, like swerves around a little bit, but I still think like a better keeper probably gets more of a touch on it,
Yeah, it's
and that's probably enough to save it.
it's because it just looked unusual to me, like how it went in and everything. I was like, why am I thinking this? But then also with the kudos goal as well, I found that a bit odd because the defender like turns the wrong way to block it, and it's just there like. It was just it felt
It's relegated players on the last game of the season, isn't
yeah.
it? Like sort of half-hearted. It's kudos, by the way. Kudos is really annoys us when
What
when
was
pundits say kudos. Like,
that?
yeah. Um,
Oh,
but yeah, he didn't celebrate. He's probably off.
you think?
He's got quite a touted release clause. I think it's 80 million for European teams, 85 million for Premier League teams, and 90 million for Saudi teams or something. That's what's been put out there, which if we can get that, Kudus has been a good player for us. Like last season especially, he was excellent, but this season he's taken a step back, and if we can get some money for him, I'll take it, to be honest, at this point. Like especially with needing to rebuild a squad that can give Potter the best chance to succeed. Like I think we have to do it.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
agree with you there. It's just keep Bowen at all costs, which I think you're
yeah.
going to
There's
do
no
anyway.
chance. There's no
Yeah.
chance he's leaving.
I mean, if he
But
left, oh my god, the uproar. That would,
fold the club if he's leaving.
yeah.
But yeah, let's talk about Ipswich for a second.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think the damning thing for Ipswich this season is only one win at home. Like as much as we've been pretty positive about Ipswich, I know you've been specifically positive, thinking they're going to win every week. But like just to have one win at home all season, like gone are the days where you'd have like your Sam Allardyce's come up and that and be like, what we need is 10 wins throughout the season, or like we need to make our home record like if we get a point per game, etc., and like make our home a fortress, like with much more chances of getting positive results at home and stuff. Like didn't really feel like Ipswich ever had that this season, and obviously they didn't by the results with only one win.
Yeah, well, never understood that. It was like having been to Portman Road this year, it felt like it could have been a fortress. Like, it felt like if I don't want to, because in the Palace game there, the fans were a bit quiet, but also it was from what I remember, Tuesday or Monday night. I
Yeah.
mean, you feel like if that place got rocking, it would have caused like some problems for players like going to visit there. And I don't really know exactly what was missing for them to be able to do that. And hopefully they're in a stronger position to come back. They're going to lose their. I mean, I said I don't want to talk about players leaving, but I think it's pretty much common knowledge that Delap's going to leave, and it is a bit of a. It's not really a rebuild job, but it's more of a. Okay, how are we going to fix that solution and make ourselves stronger coming back up, and how are we going to use that money well?
Yeah. McKenna said we'll be in a much stronger position next season to come back up. Which obviously, with the money and even the sale of Delap, like they'll be able to reinvest next season. And as we said, they've probably got the best go of it for coming back up. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see whether they can do it. It's easier said than done to come straight back up.
Yeah, 100%. Anything else you want to touch on that game at all? I feel bad that we probably spent the most time talking about our own teams, but it's been a
I mean, we
struggle.
probably did, but these are dead rubbers. We've already gone way too
Yeah.
long.
I'm sorry, listeners, but it has been a hard one. Moving into Fulham, losing 2-0 to Man City. I did not have a lot to pick out of this. Leno had a big game from what I saw as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
saved with his face.
yeah,
That's always fun to see.
that was good. There was almost a bicycle kick from Jimenez. That would have been something to talk about.
That would have been, yeah. It's literally like my notes are like Kearney and Wilson came close to equalising, but like when it was 1-0, I feel like Fulham were in this game, especially in the first half. Like they had some chances to get back on level playing terms, and then the second goal, the second one's a penalty. It's definitely a penalty again. Like, I don't think there's any controversy on that one, and yeah, and then obviously like 2-0 against Man City, last game of the season. Fulham had nothing to play for. Like it is what it is. I think overall Fulham improved on last season. Like
Yeah.
they finished higher in the table, had better points. Like I think they played some better football. They probably enhanced the squad a little bit more. So given they're also only a couple of years away from being promoted, I think like whilst this game didn't really matter for them, they've had a good season overall.
Yeah, I'd say solid season really for him overall. I mean, sorry, Fulham fans, we'll go more into depth on like the season, and everything in the summer, but I don't think there's much more to talk about in this game, if I'm being honest.
No, let's crack on with our last game of the week.
Oh,
Southampton 1, Arsenal 2. Another quick one.
we have to talk about this game. Like, do we
we
even
can
have?
just we can just very quickly run through it because sorry Southampton fans, I don't think you won't be hearing from us for a while. So
They probably don't even want to hear from us, if I'm being honest.
they're probably not engaging with any football content. I know I probably wouldn't be if I was like if West Ham were in that position. Like they ended a run of 402 minutes without scoring.
It's
Something
mad.
to cheer about.
I didn't realise it was that bad, especially after they got like the points to break Derby's record. I was like, okay, it's not as doom and gloom. And then I saw that stat and I was like, oh my god, it has been doom and gloom still. It's
Yeah,
just,
it doesn't feel like that long ago that they scored the last minute winner against West Ham, but I guess it was a few games and yeah, I mean they've got a new head coach next season. Will Still, the guy's been coaching in France for a few seasons with Lens, and yeah, it'd be interesting to see what he does with what they do with him. He's been touted to come to back to England because he is obviously English for a while. So it'd be interesting to see what he's able to do with Southampton next season.
is that a rogue decision? Because I'm not going to even sugarcoat it. I have no idea who this geezer is. So,
He's
is
been
it?
well touted for a while, but he's done well in France. Like he's got a good track record. I think there were rumours of him coming to the Premier League. I think a step to the Championship is probably better to see what he's made of in and see how he progresses. But yeah, it's definitely a more exciting one than some of the other names that had been linked with, and some of the names that have been linked with Leicester, etc. So I'm encouraged and interested to see how would they get on.
Fair enough. And I think that will do it for our 2024-2025 post-season reviews. I hope everyone enjoyed them. I mean, it's not been the most like classic to go out on, if we're being brutally honest, but let's take a break and move on to Peak Barclays.
Yep, let's do it.
Okay, and we're back. So who do you have for us for our last Peak Barclays man of the season, Tom?
So I've got a striker who was a soaring black star who pounced onto the scene with a World Cup performance and the Black Cats. It's Asamoah Gyan from his Sunderland period.
Mate, it was a short but very sweet Sunderland period, I'd say, from my memory. I remember like fucking cool haircuts, pretty decent finishes, but then just vibes in the celebrations and vibes in the play altogether. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think Xi'an dominated the football landscape for a time around then. Like the World Cup performances with Ghana, we'll get onto it, but that penalty in that game, and then a season with Sunderland, where he partnered really well with Danny Welbeck. Jean's contributions that season were 31 appearances, and then he had 3 the next season, so 34 in total. 10 goals and 4 assists. I think you absolutely hit the nail on the head. Like, he was fun on the pitch, his dancing celebrations, like he looked like he was having a good time when he was scoring goals for Sunderland and providing a few assists. He is Ghana's leading goal scorer with 51 goals. Like,
No, is that still true? No.
is that not still? He was when he retired. He was the leading goal scorer with 51 goals. Do you think an Ayew has overtaken him?
I think an Ayew brother surely overtaken him. Or my...
Have a quick Google.
No, only 30 for Jordan. What about Andre?
Andre's been kicking around for a long time.
That's what I'm thinking. Andre 20. Jeez. No, he has got... That's a lot of goals for Ghana as well then, isn't it, as well?
Yeah. And I think, obviously we've been mainly talking about like the Premier League aspect of it, but with Asamoah Gyan you have to talk about the Ghana side. Like, he was such a strong figure for them for so long, with scoring so many goals, and then he had that penalty in the 20 World Cup after that handball, the one against Uruguay, where Suarez just takes one for the team and enrages not just a nation, a continent, and
the world,
the entire footballing world, who were all rooting for that underdog. Like, everyone outside of Uruguay or without a Uruguayan connection wanted Ghana to get through in that game, and felt furious at the way it ended up, and obviously the penalty gets saved, and then a couple of years later he has another penalty saved in the African Cup of Nations semi-final in 2012, and he took a 2-year break from international football after that, and it must have done a lot of psychological damage, those big couple of moments.
No, you can't imagine that World Cup one, especially. You really,
Yeah.
everything that would have mean, and then just the situation of it all. But I feel like that's not what we should be reflecting on too much for as much, because he was the vibes in that Sunderland team, and it's touching that you brought a Sunderland player, obviously, with Sunderland's promotion, and you got to hope they'll be bringing some players like that back to the Premier League, because they were a fun time at one point in the Prem. I feel like everyone will remember them for Sunderland till I die, and their last few years in the Prem being a bit dire and relegation safeties, but he struck up a good partnership in that team. Was it with Danny Welbeck? I think you noted down.
Yeah, with Danny Welbeck. Yeah, I mean, Sunderland have had plenty of players who will appear on Peak Barclays over the time, and yeah, he donned the numbers 3 and 33 when at Sunderland, like a bit rogue, and he was brief. I think he's the first of our Peak Barclaysmen who don't have much longevity in the league. Like, he was just here for a season, and then the very start of the next season he played in 3 games, and then he was off to Al Ain. But for his fun facts, I've got a couple of things for you. So in about 2012 he decided to get involved in boxing promoting, and specifically for young Ghanaian boxers, but it didn't turn out that well for him. He only had 1 boxer signed to his promotion company. But the more fun fact is, in 2017 he was granted an air carrier license by the Ghanaian Civil Aviation Authority, and his startup was called Baby Jet Airlines.
What a fact! I know when we were discussing it, who it would take, we landed here because of the fact, and that is definitely a great one to have.
It's good, right? Yeah.
What a rogue fact to have out there. Just to touch on when he was leaving Sunderland as well, I was reading into it, because I was like, because a lot of players at one point Sunderland left, not in disgrace, but left because they were either booted out or looking for long-term contracts. It seemed he left to kind of help the club in a money situation, because the amount of money he was going to get, Sunderland were going to get for him, and the amount of money he would be getting, it was basically a deal I think Neil Quinn looked at and went, this is the best for everyone involved, so if you feel happy to go there. And yeah, a bit glad to not see him longer in the Premier League, because I feel like there was more fun to be had, but also it kind of helped Sunderland. I mean, probably not in the long run altogether with how the seasons afterwards went for him, but I think at the time that money must have been useful for him.
Yeah, it was a short but sweet stay, and he's definitely a Peak Barclaysman. But coming onto the ranking, I'll probably slot him in at the bottom, because if we take in longevity, impact, and whilst he was an excellent vibe to the league, I don't think he comes in above any of our current placings.
Nah, let's slot him in there on the table then. Move on to the predictions for the week. Oh no, wait, we have none of those this week. So yeah, I guess we'll just take time to wrap up the pod there as usual. If you want to follow us on any of our socials, we're on Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, Reddit at other14fc podcast, and you can email us in at other14fcpodcast at gmail.com. But other than that, Tom, I think you want to move into next week. We'll be doing some extra pod content where we'll be looking to do the team of the season for the other 14 sides.
Yeah, I've got a good team of the season put together. A few controversial choices. Really struggled with the forward line, but we'll be breaking that down for you next week. And in the summer, we're going to have loads of episodes coming out. We'll be looking at all of the teams' seasons just gone, previewing the upcoming season. That we might be dishing out a few awards on the current season. There's lots of fun stuff to be had over the summer before we get back into the previews and the reviews next season.
Yeah, I guess we can say goodbye to Southampton, Leicester, and oh my god,
Ipswich Town.
Ipswich Town. Already gone from my mind, man. But yeah, say goodbye to those.
You've been celebrating too much recently. You need to get some rest.
Yeah, I hope listeners, I can have more of energy than I've had over the last two with the amount of non-sleep and booze that I've had over the last few weeks. But yeah, other than that, yeah, I hope everyone's enjoyed this season. We look forward to bringing you more content moving forward. But other than that, Tom, I guess I'll say bye to you and I'll see you next week for Team of the Season.
See you next week, mate.